Hey everyone, I hope you're having a great day. So today I received an interesting question in my inbox that I really felt inspired to share with all of you today in these reels. It's a great question, and she basically was asking, isn't the greed of the elites the reason for the lack in our system? So to paraphrase it in my own way, it basically isn't the elites or the cabal, the people that are in charge of our money, our world, the banking systems, aren't they the ones responsible for why most of humanity lives in lack? And I understand this perception 100%, and I totally get it, because when our perceptions are navigated in a direction to only look through one lens, you only can create and think from that one lens. So I want to really talk into that today. Now, for most of you who've been following me for a while, I've talked in great depth about manifestation, consciousness. I talk about so many things, but everything that I do talk about always comes back down to who we are. You know, a lot of you have seen me say things like know thyself, which I have been attracted to since I was extremely young. To know thyself isn't to know thyself by the outside in. It absolutely is never going to happen if we're listening and believing what we're learning external to who we are. That's not knowing thyself. And I was always attracted to philosophers and Socrates and Plato and all that, because there was so much truth wrapped into so many things that I couldn't stop learning what it meant. And to know thyself is to know yourself from the inside out. Navigating this world, knowing through direct cognition, connected to your soul consciousness, to your higher self. This is where all wisdom lies, and this is where you all got to go back to. So by knowing thyself is to know that you have a power, a life force energy, whether you're willing to own it, whether you're willing to look into it, it doesn't matter. There is a life force energy that moves to and through every single one of you. And there's always a time where you can look back in life where something has just happened for you without trying, something that felt like you were in the zone, something that just made you feel like you were lucky. Things just started to work for you and flow. There might be a lot of experiences like this in your life, or there might be just the odd one, or you've at least heard of these happening in other people's lives. So this is when you're in direct alignment with this life force power, and you're moving and navigating this reality with it. So when you understand that you have this power, and that how you perceive something and what you believe creates your reality, which I don't want you to let that go where it's like, I hear that all the time. Yes, we create our own reality. Well, then if you are one who wants to truly create a new reality, and you want to experience something in direct opposite of what you are now, then you can't just let that fly off the tip of your tongue. You've got to embody the idea. You've got to embody the truth that you literally are creating your reality. So to circle back to this question that was asked, this is how we perceive the world because we've been conditioned to. We blame things outside of ourselves for the conditions we're experiencing. So by understanding and knowing who you are, you understand at a fundamental level, you're subatomic particles, your vibration. And this is what people have to understand and embody if you want to understand the truth of who you are. To navigate this world and to create a life that you truly love is absolutely possible, and it's possible right now. Quantum leaps happen all the time to certain people. Unfortunately, right now, it's not to all people, but this is available to all people once they understand the truth. Now, perception is a very pivotal tool in creating our reality. I spoke in great detail months ago on just perception alone, and helping all of you understand that power that I just spoke of that comes to and through you and surrounds you is what we're using, our consciousness uses to create the reality we experience. It goes through a filter, right? A lens. And what is this lens? It's your perception. Well, what's locked up in this perception that we have are beliefs, information, and experiences that we're having on this planet. So without going into the negativity, which you have to own the fact that if you are awake, you know that most things that we are being given in our external world isn't positive. So when you look at from that perspective, from the moment we wake up, we're given information through our parents, through their beliefs, through their parents' beliefs, through social media, mainstream media, just social, okay? Everyone you speak to All the Mr. Smiths, they're all saying the same thing. They're all experiencing pretty well the same life. Because why? They're all being fed the same level and frequency of information. So our perception that perceives the world, that is capable, has the power to shape our world, to create heaven on earth, is being manipulated through the lens of what we're being fed on a daily basis. So this is where I share at the very beginning of these reels, where the biggest hiccup is right now, the unawareness of what's really going on and how powerful we are, is we're living and using our power from the external in instead of from our eternal out. And this is where the problems are. So external in means you're looking at lack and poverty and struggle, and that's just a couple I'll name, and that's it. So our filter, our perception, is going to create a reality that's wrapped around with that with a pretty little bow. So going back to this question, which is, like I said, a great question, isn't the greed of the cabal or the elites the ones responsible for our lack? And if you live from the outside in, that perception, you could come up with that conclusion, absolutely. But then that puts us again where they wanted us to be, in a state of victimhood. When you're in a state of victimhood, think about the energy that brings to you. You're always in a place of needing saving. You always are vulnerable to all the external circumstances. You're not strong enough to stand on your own 2 feet and navigate this world as a divine being. No. You are a victim. Something outside is always controlling your life, your circumstances, your income, your health, your happiness. This is the fundamental thing of giving away your power. You've given it all away. But that's how we have perceived our world. But when you understand who you are and you know thyself, you stop giving your power away. You start using that power that resides within you and around you, and you move from inside out. It's a completely different reality when you do that. You've heard me talk about in the past reels where when you have a collective consciousness, a hive mind of people that are all creating almost the exact same realities, you know that this should give you enough proof that we are powerful divine beings that are co-creating with an energy. You can call it source, you can call it your soul, you can call it your higher self. It doesn't matter what you choose to call it. You are navigating a world with an infinite life force that's able to create what you desire based on your perception, your beliefs, and what's going on within your body, your vibration. So when you look at it from that perspective and you think about what most of humanity is being given from the external in through all our senses, and you have a hive mind of billions of humans creating the exact same reality, this is proof, I hope, for all of you to realize the power that resides in each one of you and the power that all of you have to change your life like that. So where do you begin? You begin from the internal out. Now, some of you may understand that. Some of you may just hear the words and go, yeah, I get it. But one thing I can share with all of you is we never embody anything. We never understand anything until we're actually applying it in our life and seeing the results from it. And when we can teach it to someone else. If there's something that you say that you know, but you're not capable of being able to teach this and articulate it very clearly to another human being so they'll understand, that is a clear indication that you do not know it yet. That's how the mind tricks us and says, I know this. Well, you don't. And this is why, if you look at your life and you say, I don't understand why things aren't changing. Why haven't I made those quantum leaps? Why can't I triple my income like that other life coach did? What is going on? Well, you haven't taken it in. You haven't embodied the truth. You just say you know it. So these are 2 great gifts I just gave you guys to understand you. Because you're the only one here who's going to navigate you if you want to take full power back. If you want to own your greatness, you can't depend on anyone outside of you. You've got to know you. You've got to own your power, and you've got to navigate it properly. So what do you mean by going within, Kimberly? Well, we've talked about imagination in my reels. I can't stress enough how powerful your imagination is. And if you need any evidence to know this, always look at everything in your life, in your world, that is pushed away from you. Anything that you're getting in trouble for, anything that you're being punished for doing or looking into or being, you must understand that's your power and learn more about it. So your imagination is the key to all creation. This is the portal that we use to co-create with our Creator and create heaven on earth or hell on earth. It just depends on our perception. So this is where imagination comes into play. We were navigated out of it in a very aggressive way when we were quite young, and this is exactly why. Because when you harness the power that you know is moving to and through you, and you no longer live from the external, you go inside. Eternally, you start to navigate your imagination. You start to create what it is that you desire. And this is how powerful your perception is. This is why they've used it, so that you can create something new. That's power. And what's even more powerful is I know a lot of you have heard of the 100 monkey concept, right? What this means is once you get enough humans perceiving the world in a different way, looking from in out instead of from out in, this can shift the whole consciousness. So the hive mind consciousness, the whole reason why all of humanity pretty well, is creating the exact same experiences in their life is because their perception has been navigated towards one lens. Okay. This is why when enough people understand what I'm sharing with you now, when enough people live from in out and they create a different level of consciousness, a different reality, it's just a certain amount of people, the 100 monkey idea, and the whole entire consciousness of the planet shifts. So this is why it's so important that you are that powerful. One person, you've heard it said probably throughout your whole life, how can one person be so important? Well, that I hope explains it. You, one person, me, another person. Just think of all the people who lead themselves from their soul purpose, from their heart, and they move from the inside out. When that hits that 100 monkey idea, the whole entire human consciousness changes. You're saving humanity. You're upgrading humanity. You're changing the whole entire perception of humanity when you decide to walk in the shoes that you chose to walk in. Now, navigating it from the inside out can be a little bit challenging for some people. It's going to be like, working out at a gym. It's going to feel like painful in the beginning because you haven't used that muscle in a while. But just like anything, it doesn't matter what it is. To get good at anything, to get that muscle memory back, to get the cellular memory activating in your body, you need to start to move in the direction of what you want. So this is what happens. So what you do is you start slowly. You just start living from the inside in and just have compassion and patience with you. You understand now how this works, and you're going to navigate it using your imagination, getting quiet a couple times a day, and start to feel into who you came here to be. Start to feel what it feels like to be happy. Start to feel what drives you, what passion you have within you. What is it that you feel you came here for? Because that is where you're supposed to walk. That's the road. That's the road. And as you've heard, it's the road less traveled because most human beings are all walking the same road. That's why they have the collective hive mind consciousness. But when the ones that have the courage and the understanding to navigate themselves down the road less traveled, you are going to change the whole entire world because of your choice. Now, does that sound like a victim? Does that sound like something that was created by an accident in the universe, by just a bunch of energy coming together and a bang happened? Does that sound like someone who came from an accident, you just came from an ape? None of this is true. You are an infinite, multidimensional, divine being who has to understand you've been navigating this world with your hands tied behind your back. You've been operating here with only half of you in operation. The other half has been ignored or severed, but it's still there. We all understand wholeness. We have to lead from the most powerful part of you, and that's your heart. Your heart and your intuition are in alignment, and that is what brings you from the internal out. So when you hear people talk about you need to live from inside out, you need to go within, this is what they mean. But it isn't just words until you embody it and start to apply it in your life. And when you do this, your perception shifts. And this is what you hear about miracles and magic. You hear about people who make quantum leaps. When you hear people say what that person just did was impossible, that's only because you're thinking from the half of you that's limited here on this earth plane. If you access your whole self, nothing's impossible. And that's the eternal. And that's where you go. Currently, There isn't a lot of people that are willing to do what I'm sharing with you right now, not willing to lead themselves internal out. But here's what I'm trying to share. The ones who feel called to do that have that fire in themselves, that know that you're here for something big. This is big. Responsible for your own self and the awakening of humanity, to create a completely big shift in consciousness on our planet by being you. That's a pretty big responsibility, and that's a lot of power to hold in, but that's who you came here to be if you feel this call. So this is where you might want to start navigating and coming from inside and go, okay, let's readjust the course. Let's get refocused on what I'm doing and what I'm here to do. But my point is once you take that and you go, when enough of us do that, you change the whole entire consciousness on the planet. You don't need 8 billion people to make that shift. It's the 100 monkey. You don't need that many, but we need enough to do the shift. So to circle back to that question, when we live externally, when we think that's the only reality that is because we're not connected to our whole self, we're half. Then yes, we're going to think that our reality, the lack of money, the lack of health, the suffering, all what's going on is all responsible to the elites. So we're going to blame them. That puts us right in line with victimhood. That puts us in a place of no power. We've given it all away. And I don't think many of you want to live that way anymore. You don't have to, because the truth is that was backwards. We live from the inside out, and we change the world and our reality through our perception with a brand new lens, not the eyes and the ears that listen externally. You use the eyes and the ears from inside. You navigate yourself from in here. And I promise you, the whole entire reality, your whole entire world will shift if you stand tall and in the strength of knowing that you are that powerful. And just to leave a little more evidence, just think of why and the trouble that has been gone through to create this hive mind of lack here. So if they've gone through that much trouble to create that hive mind of lack, don't you think that you have the power that they've tried to harness, that you can create whatever you want? Unplug from the system, which is external to your true self. Go back inside and create from there. So having the free will choice without it being compromised, knowing what I'm sharing with you now, you have a choice through your own free will to move into this information and start to understand it at a deeper level. Whether it's hiring a coach, whether it's reading more books, it doesn't matter what you're called to do. Listen to your intuition and feel where you're being led to understand this concept at a deeper level, because it's like learning something new, because it's been taken from you, but it's always been within you. It's just been laying there dormant, waiting, just waiting for you to finally look in and see it. So once you do that, the whole entire thing shifts. You shift, your world shifts, your energy shifts. It's a magical thing. The alchemy is amazing, but you have to make the decision first. Some will say, hey, this is too much work. Even though I don't like my world, I'm okay with it. And that's fine. But there's not all of you that want to live that kind of life. You know you're here for something big and you deserve it. You've got a big mission. And this isn't just about lack or the money or the bank system or anything like this. Anything in the reality that you are now viewing through, right, with your body and your mind, all of those circumstances are external to you. Okay? They're not in here. When you go internal and you create from there, they become manifested in the external, because that's what you choose. Everything else might have been chosen for you. Even though you are still choosing, you didn't know. But now that you know, you have to choose the life that you want to live. And this is around money. This is around health. This is around love, relationships. It's about creating your business, leaving a job. It's finding peace and happiness within yourself. And when you lead from peace and happiness, the world shifts and creates peace and happiness for you. You've all heard people, or of people, that had certain dis-ease in their bodies. And for whatever reason, the doctors don't have any idea, but the person has cured themselves. It's disappeared. It's healed, right? So this is something, whether this person consciously understood what they were doing or unconsciously did it. You all have heard this as evidence. So this is where you've got to start to really embody it instead of just knowing it up here. You have to understand that you shift your own health. The cells have ears. You are vibration. You are a frequency. When you shift the way you think and you perceive things, the body goes with it. So this is where you create miracles in your health, miracles in your wealth, miracles in your relationships. So this is what I want people to really get. People have cured themselves. People have gone from poverty to absolute abundance. People have gone from a life that had relationships that were not healthy to living a life with their love, their soulmate. This is possible for every one of you, but you have to navigate you and the energy that you're working with. So if you feel this and it really gives you the feels, then you know that this is true. So go and be more of it. I'm sure a lot of you are already doing this, but there's always next levels. But to start, if you've only just heard this, or to understand the question that was brought at the very beginning of these reels, if we choose to continue to be victims and live from the external in, then this truth will be that the elites control our money. I know people are going to say, well, how do we do it? They're the ones who own the banks. This bunch of reels isn't about that. And that's a human. That's the half of you that's talking. Understanding infinite intelligence and infinite potentiality is outside this realm. And that's when you know it doesn't matter what the external circumstances are. You can break those rules when you're coming from the quantum field. And that's a whole different reel. So if you feel this and you want to break free, or you want to create even more than what you've created, keep doing what you're doing, and you will need to upgrade yourself at every level. You don't just stay the same when you hit a mark. You're always upgrading, and you will live an incredible life.